process with schools that, when I said on the SIG process, they're engaged with them over a period of time. But we don't know, so it's really hard for us to kind of understand the impact of all of this on a school. So maybe you could get that from Andy, and we can revisit this in July.
Great, so when this comes up during our action items, we can take an action to take it down. So I just want to be clear kind of what the steps would be. Okay, great. That's not for the emergency. No. Yep. Very good. Ben, okay, are we moving on to the next thing? Is it private schools?
Okay. By the way, just so we're all speaking from the same, Linda and Parker created this nice annotated action sheet. So the new addition here is that you can, it crosswalks for you the page numbers, so you know exactly from the Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so number 9 is the list of private schools. This is pertaining to page 257 of your board packet. And Member Jennings, yeah, actually, Judy, would you mind saying a few words about the video? And
Sure. I made a short video just talking to you about the process that private schools go through for approval and what the board's role in private school approval is. And I don't know if you have any questions about that, or if it was helpful. I hope so. There's a list of schools that are to be approved. These are all renewals. So it's a part of the annual process. There are, I believe, 4. Some of them I would have named differently. Big Brains Education.
That's on the record, I'm sorry. Big Leagues comments to yourself.
Yes, sorry. No,
Those guys.
Sorry, editorial. Sorry. Big League Montessori, the Gift Learning Academy, and Salish C Deaf School. They're for a variety of reasons are asking for a provisional approval. So by the time school starts in the fall, those things should be corrected. And if they aren't, then we'll see them again. The other piece of the private school information is to file a motion to approve a CR 102 to amend the private school rules. And this is something that we've been working on for about a year. I brought it to Linda and to Colleen and said that we just needed to clean these up because in some cases the rules were more restrictive for private schools than they were for public schools as far as teacher certification and as far as our teacher and student ratios. And so, and we also wanted to make sure that we were following along with what the RCW actually stated as far as having, basic instructional hours, how do you certify teachers, what's appropriate, minimum health and safety requirements, reporting on student attendance, and we do want to have, there's at least one certificated, Washington certificated teacher in every building, or principal, and we expanded to superintendent as well, to oversee those that are not. So I don't know if you had any questions about those changes to the rules. Dan?
Not to the change, but you could elaborate a little bit, Judy, that the sample certificate in here suggests that the board has actually reviewed all their stuff for compliance.
Well, OSPI does all of the review. Laura, the actual paperwork. Laura Moore goes through all of the forms that are submitted, goes through every piece of it, and then the OSPI recommends to the state board the list for approval.
Okay, yeah, because that was really my question, is the way the certificate reads, it suggests that we're not just granting approval, but we're the ones that actually have validated the compliance. suggested that we in this room had actually done the OSPI component of the work, when, to the best of my knowledge, we haven't gone through those certificates. So I'm just wondering if that should be amended just to say, consistent with the recommendation of the office or something, I think would be better
That would
than
be good.
suggesting that we did it.
I think that's a good change.
Did staff get that? Say that again, Dan. Dan, say that again, so staff can.
I'll just say consistent with the recommendation by the OSPI that the Washington State Board of Education has approved your application or something like that, so it's clear who actually did the compliance review.
Sorry. Holly?
I just wanted to thank Judy for the video. That thing was only 3 minutes long, and at the end of 3 minutes, I got a whole bunch of stuff I'd never understood before. That is an art and a science. So thank you.
Well, I just was the face of the text. And face of the franchise, yeah. Linda and Stephanie were the ones that put that all together, and Parker held the cue cards, and Stephanie ran the camera, so it was pretty fun. Yeah, there you go, yeah. My short career fame there. So
Yeah, any other questions?
Question.
Bob?
There's, 2 years in a row now, I've noticed certain private schools have forgotten or not on the list. Does somebody go through and remind them they're supposed to submit this every year?
Yes, both OSPI, the director for the Washington Federation of Independent Schools, and myself will make a contact to those schools and say, hey, what's up, what's going on? And typically I'll usually just take one contact, and typically what happens, the problem is that either the administrator has moved on, or the secretary didn't realize what it was that had been sent to them to fill out, and so it's usually just more of a clerical or technical piece, and that's why we wanted to move the dates back for receiving the approval for the following year into the school year, so that we had this by May, rather than having it after school gets out, because typically if you're gonna change administrators, they're long gone, and the new person is just trying to find their way, and they don't know what they're looking at oftentimes, so. That help?
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like we're gonna have one amendment to the language that staff will work on. And I didn't see any objection to that when I was looking around the room and listening to Dan present that.
I would concur with it. I think it's good.
Great, so that'll be prepared and ready for us when we have to do the action items. Ben, you wanna go to the next item?
Sure, so that takes us through, takes us through 9 and 10. And, so Bob, this is the one where you wanted to say something, number 11.
Yeah, it's only with one of them, it's the 180-51-001. It may not seem significant to us, but the school more suggesting that we just modify it and update it, because the Wassel obviously reference in there is not accurate. And then we talk about it. It becomes a regular discussion every so often, that what are we doing to move that way? But to deactivate it, to me, sends the wrong message.
Ben, do you wanna talk just a little bit about the rationale for having this in here too? 'Cause I
Sure,
remember you
so-
mentioning it.
Yeah, and, I guess from the staff's perspective, this was part of, there's really no policy rationale for this. So that's the thing, is if there's any objection at all, my attitude about it is, let's not repeal it, because the whole point of the repeal procedure was to cull from WAC things that were either antiquated or were not pertinent. And I think this one came up because it was an educational reform vision adopted by a board like 15 years ago. If there is an interest in revising this or taking this up in any way, staff would have absolutely no objection to that. But purely from a, from a standpoint of staff, go look at all the existing WACs and identify any of them that either were under a prior statute that no longer applies, or doesn't appear to have any modern relevance, or doesn't have any effective law. I think this probably came up under the last version. You'll recall that we adopted, I think last year, some kind of reform vision language in our accountability framework. But the interesting thing there was that was actually required by law, that we adopt an accountability framework. So I guess the net effect of this is, absolutely. I mean, if people care about this, and Bob does, and he's mentioned it to me, and Bob doesn't ask for much, I mean, we don't get any win out of pulling it out. It was merely kind of an administrative exercise from the staff standpoint, so.
Trey and then Deborah.
Thanks for bringing this up, Bob, excuse me. I remember this seemed to have come up before, but one thing I'm struck wondering is, I agree with Bob, I think we need to have some sort of, it's interesting, you said how long ago was this, 2000?
Yeah.
15 years.
So we never got out of reform, I guess, because we're in reform now. I guess. The cycle keeps, the wheels keep spinning. But what I'm struck between, I agree with Bob, I think having some formal vision from the State Board of Education, maybe we do have that. I don't know if, what I'm trying to figure out is, does it need to be in a WAC? Like, what's the appropriate vehicle for it? And so, I don't know, but I do agree that we need to have some sort of document that has these kind of principles, so people do get, if we can find consensus, so people do get a sense, since you see the system's been in reform going on 16 years, probably longer, and then WACs to me seem to have a specific purpose. The reason why you put something in a WAC versus adopting a statement or a letter or something else, and that's where I'm torn a little, if some vision statement is the appropriate vehicle, the WAC, but if we don't have an idea how we're gonna replace that need to have a formal vision, then leave it here and edit it. But I'm like Bob, it's like if we just get rid of it, what are we exchanging it with?
Sure.
So I guess I agree with you, I just don't know if the WAC is the appropriate vehicle, but if we don't identify the vehicle, then I don't wanna just eliminate it.
Deborah and then Cindy.
I too agree that we need a vision statement, and I think that even though Bob doesn't ask for much, there's a bigger reason to really look at, does this need?
That was a lot more.
Yeah, no, I mean, we really need to say, is this connected to kind of our overall strategic plan? How does this align? And is this what we still believe as a board? So revisiting it, modifying it, I mean, it really had some significance, and there does need to be, what we do does need to be connected. Someone asked us, what's our 15-year vision for the state of Washington and where we want to be in 15 years? I mean, this was 15 years ago, and clearly they had some clear thoughts about where they thought we needed to go. But this is a part of a longer-term way of thinking about what do we fundamentally believe about what's best for kids and how we educate them. So, deserves some attention. Maybe at the retreat, I don't know if it's too big of a thing to take a bite out of, but to begin to think about.
Yeah, the treat's gonna be a week.
Yeah, that's why I said maybe.
Cindy, and then Dan, and then I